Hello, welcome to another edition of 10 Minutes or 10 Questions. I'm Desmond Purcell here with our guest artist at the Kalmanson Gallery, Ms. Krissy Edenfield. So welcome to our show, Krissy.
Thank you.
First question for you, question number one. If you can, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background?
I'm originally from Swainsboro. I moved all around the area, came back to Swainsboro as always. I currently work in Metter as a graphic artist over at Metter Graphics, Metter Advertiser. Keep it pretty low key. Just a lot of family time, church time, art time, and work.
Okay. Well, tell us how you came into the field of the arts. How long have you been?
I've always liked art. I've drawn and painted things of that nature since I was younger, probably in about middle school, maybe a little earlier. As far as graphic art, digital art, I've only been doing that maybe 7, 8 years now, if that. So it's just something that I kind of stumbled upon, really.
Yeah, and now that you mention that, as we were hanging the show, you said a few things about how you sort of stumbled upon the art making process in graphic design. Can you touch on that, or you're self-taught, right?
I am self-taught. A lot of what I know I've done just by playing around with it, or I have done a few tutorials here and there, and I've just kind of built upon that. But most of the time, like I said, I just stumble upon most of my art. In my mind, I'll have a vision sometimes, but then most times, more times than not, I'll just start playing on the computer, and then kind of whatever comes out, comes out.
Okay, you've got a background. I know you talked about doing some painting, drawing, photography, and such. Mm-hmm. Do you feel the transition to digital was a really, I guess, a good flow? Those painting and drawing feel so tactile and hands-on. Photography, we start dealing with the machine, and when we're dealing with the graphic arts, where it's you and the machine in the creative process. So can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, over the years as I kind of evolved into this, I just realized that it's a lot easier for me to kind of convey what's going on in my mind if I can play with it, put it on the screen, and then I may change, may adapt it, or I can just tweak it however I want to, whereas with painting or drawing, like we talked about earlier, there is no undo button,
sure.
No save as.
That's it? That's it. Okay. So it's 10 minutes or 10 questions. It's all in there, Krissy. So number 5, let's talk about the work specifically. The work there seems to be a lot of underlying messages, content, and I might even say there's a real strong thematic approach to the exhibition as a whole. You want to touch on some of the things that inspire you, or what's pulling these images out of you here?
People may or may not know, but I do have a little bit of a past, and really I draw on a lot of that for my art pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Things that either I've gone through, I'm going through, things that I may not be able to express in words, but I can put them down on paper or on the computer screen, I guess now. Just all my hardships, all my victories, all my triumphs, setbacks, struggles. It's just my way to, that's really actually how it all came about with the digital. I just found that avenue and used it as an outlet to kind of get out some emotions that I was feeling. For lack of a better way to put it. And it's something that I've used as a tool, and today I'm really blessed to be able to do what I love, because I do get to do digital art for a living, or just art period, and photography, and it's just a passion of mine, and it's something that's always been in there, but it's these things in my life that it's obstacles. We can either use them for stumbling blocks or stepping stones, and so it's just I guess my way of using it as a stepping stone, a way to pour out of me what's been in me, I guess.
So is the work sort of, is it a journal of sorts?
It is really, and there's a lot of emotion in some of them that I felt. There's actually a lot of political and worldly undertones in some of these also. I just feel like that's the way that I can maybe put out there what I'm feeling in the political world also, and not have to put myself out there as much, I guess you could say.
Okay. It's the image over the text there. Okay, and I'd like to, the piece right behind us that everyone has access to, we spent a lot of time talking about that work there. Could you tell us a bit about the inspiration behind the piece and your process and response to it?
Yes, that piece is called Dove's Flight, and a lot of my pieces, there's some of my pieces from just a couple of years back, they may be a little darker. It's just where I was at that point, And this really it's a symbol of my life, I think, just in the fact that you never really know what real freedom feels like, I guess, until you get a little taste of it. Like I said, I was tied down from the chains and bondage of my past, basically, but today I've been given second, third, fourth, fifth opportunities, if you will. But I've been given a new lease on life, and I think that is what that conveys to me. It's my new lease on life. Just free, like a dove in flight.
And process behind that one, it is in some ways a lot different from some of the other works we see in here too.
It is. It's a layered piece. Some of my other pieces, I start with a 3D base, but this one strictly layered, and I use a technique that I've really just, I don't even know how to explain it, to be honest. It just is what it is. That's one of the ones that I actually just sat down and just started playing on the computer that day, and as it started to come to life in front of me, I was like, you know what, that's it. That's how I feel today, really, just free.
Okay, that's really beautiful.
Thank you.
And last question, I believe, if my hand count is correct here. The work, earlier I said the work seemed to be thematic, and then we touched on the idea of it being almost like a journal of sorts, and how you're telling us that this really represents where you are today. It's one thing to use art, right, as this tool to sort of pull what's out of you every day and lay it out for everyone to come and see and view. And you mentioned some of the other pieces were really kind of dark and tough, and this one's at a whole new spot. Do you feel from this new perspective the work will continue with this journalistic style, or do you think now, or do you see it branching out into sort of these other explorations as you move forward from this point on?
Well, I've always, just like my life, I guess my art has always kind of adapted, and it's evolved, and I build on the piece before it. So I guess it's always changing, it's always adapting, so it really, like my life, it is a reflection of who I am, but one thing that I've been able to appreciate about other people seeing this, and I guess, like you said, me journaling it by putting it on canvas or on print, is that each person that sees it actually can find their own little connection with it. They find their own meaning in it, and that means that probably means more to me than even me getting my feelings out, or getting my thought processes down or out for everyone to see. It just means more to me that others can find a little bit of themselves in it too. It's just my connection, I guess, with the rest of the world, and my connections with that inner self that, like I said, I've just not always been able to just speak outright, and it's not always easy to tell somebody how you feel, but if they can look and they can connect with the piece, then it's almost like they may feel exactly how you're feeling just by looking at that piece. And
sure,
it's just a pretty cool thing to me to be able to do something like that and just know that somebody else is benefiting from it just the same way that I am. It's just like a connection with the world, I guess.